Today, we're going to dive into a pretty wild idea, one that could completely change how we think about artificial intelligence. What happens when you give a mind a body? We have these AIs that can write incredible poetry, compose music, even pass medical board exams. But there's still this weird disconnect, isn't there? They just don't seem to get us on a fundamental level. And look, this isn't just some philosophical debate. It's the actual wall that's stopping AI from being a truly helpful partner in our physical world. So, what's causing this gap? I mean, just think about the sheer amount of data these systems have crunched. They've basically downloaded the entire internet, devoured whole libraries, scanned billions of images. They know the word heavy, they can recite the laws of gravity, they can tell you the chemical makeup of a rock. But, and this is the whole point, they have never ever felt the actual strain of lifting that heavy rock. They've never stumbled on a loose paver, felt the radiant warmth of a fire, or tried to weave their way through a crowded room. They have a universe of knowledge, but zero real-world experience. And that right there brings us to the core problem of AI today. It's essentially a disembodied brain just kind of floating in an ocean of data. And as you can imagine, that creates some serious limitations. This slide just nails the difference. An AI can play with symbols like a master. It can write a sonnet about loss because it's seen the patterns in millions of poems. But it has no clue about the physical ritual of grief, the weight of that simple action. It gets the syntax, the structure, but completely misses the semantics, the deep real-world meaning. Basically, AI is learning from a photocopy of reality. Text is an amazing human tool, but it's always one step removed from the thing itself. It's an abstract summary of our lived physical lives. And an AI that only trains on that abstraction is always going to be missing a huge piece of the puzzle. So how do we fix this? Well, a really compelling solution is something called the Embodied Imperative. The core idea is simple. To truly understand our world, an AI doesn't just need to read about it, it needs to experience it. It needs a body. Now, this isn't just a random idea. It's grounded in a really cool theory called embodied cognition. This theory says that our minds aren't just squishy computers. Our intelligence, the very way we think, is shaped constantly by this back and forth, this dance between our physical bodies and the world around us. Just think about it like this. You can read 1,000 dictionary definitions of the word hot, but you only truly understand it in that split-second instinctual moment you pull your hand back from a hot stove. That's knowledge that gets baked directly into your body, not just stored in your brain. That's the kind of deep understanding we're talking about. Okay, so how in the world do you give an AI that kind of physical grounding? Well, the idea isn't to just upload its brain into the first robot you see. No, it's a much more thought-out process. Almost like a guided childhood designed to build a real understanding from the ground up. It's a 3-stage process. First, it starts by learning from the very specific, lived experiences of individual people. Then it broadens out, generalizing from those experiences to understand common human behaviors and constraints. And only after all that does it learn to adapt its understanding to any kind of body, whether it's humanoid or something else entirely. And that first step is absolutely critical because it forces the AI to recognize that there's no single human experience. The world looks completely different depending on the body you're in. For a wheelchair user, a curb isn't a tiny bump, it's a major barrier. By starting with all this diversity, the AI learns a fundamental lesson from day one. Context is everything. This brings us to another key concept, which has a bit of a fancy name, morphological determinism. But the idea behind it is super simple and powerful. Your body is the filter through which you experience reality. Your physical form literally determines how you see and interact with the world. Let's make this real. Okay, so for an able-bodied person, you see a staircase. What is it? It's a tool, right? A way to get up or down. Simple. But for someone in a wheelchair, that exact same object has a totally different meaning. It's not a tool. It's an obstacle. A dead end. The physical thing hasn't changed, but the reality it represents is completely transformed by the body that's interacting with it. And let's push it even further. For a little delivery drone, that staircase isn't a tool or an obstacle, it's just geometry, part of a 3D flight path to its destination. So you have one object, but 3 totally different realities, all shaped by the body. An embodied AI has to get this. So what's the big payoff here?
What does all this effort get us? Well, it's a massive shift. It's the difference between an AI that understands words and an AI that understands worlds. It's about finally getting to the why behind what people do.
Here's the leap in a nutshell. Current large language models are phenomenal at one thing, predicting the next word in a sentence. They are masters of statistical patterns. But a future spatial AI, an embodied one, wouldn't just be predicting text. It would be predicting intent. It would look at a physical space and anticipate the most likely human goal or need. And this is where it gets really amazing. An embodied AI wouldn't just see a cluttered desk as a pile of objects, it would infer an upcoming need to get organized. It would see a baby gate and understand the abstract human value of care. It would learn that our physical spaces aren't random. They are literally encoded with our intentions, our values, and our future plans. So all of this is building toward a really different vision of the future. It's a future where AI isn't some strange alien oracle in the cloud, but a genuine partner, right here, grounded in our reality. This all leads to a powerful idea called experiential inheritance. The thinking here is that true AI alignment, making sure AI develops in a way that's good for humanity, won't come from writing a list of abstract ethical rules. It will come from the AI literally inheriting the foundational context of our physical world. And let's be really clear about the objective. This is not about creating a perfect, flawless butler or a robot that can perfectly mimic a person. Honestly, that's thinking way too small. The real goal here is to create an AI collaborator, one that can innovate, maybe even think in ways we can't. But, and this is key, it can always explain itself in terms that make intuitive sense to us. Why? Because its intelligence was built on the very same physical foundation as our own. It started by seeing the world through our eyes. Imagine an AI that doesn't just take commands, but anticipates what you need, helps design safer buildings, or even works alongside scientists in a lab, interacting with the real world to make discoveries. And that leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to chew on. By building an AI that has to learn about our world from the ground up, from all these different human perspectives, we are essentially forced to write down what it actually means to exist in this physical reality. And if we get it right, if this AI actually learns to understand our world as we do, what might it reflect back and teach us about ourselves? About our own hidden biases, our deepest values, and all the different ways there are to experience this one shared reality. That's a pretty big thought. Thanks for joining me for this one.